Alright, so merge tactics is now slowly rolling out for everyone, and I've got some more gameplay here today to show why I yap a little bit about the game. And today I kind of wanted to compare it with Clash Mini, since I think that's fair, because this game mode is basically what was promised to us. This is what replaced Clash Mini. This is the reason the game was killed. And as a Clash Mini player, an active one, I want to compare this game mode now to that game, to see whether it's actually better, if it will reach the same potential as Clash Mini, or what there's actually to change. And I want to start off first by just saying that the game mode, even after a year of development, we've been waiting for the release of this for over a year now. It kind of sucks, but it feels unfinished, right? This was released without the ability to play friendly battles in this mode. It was released without being able to spectate or to share replays, and I feel like that's kind of bad. And also, on top of that, some interactions feel really weird. Like, for in one of these games here that I'll show you, you'll see, for example, Mega Knight dying mid jump. That, for example, in Clash Mini was not possible, and I feel like it's better that way. Um, so kind of like working on interactions like that will probably improve how smooth the game feels. But in general, even just kind of some effects on the gameplay are missing. It just feels way less interactive between troops on the board than it did in Clash Mini, for example. Like, for example, when you had Mega Knight jump on the board in Clash Mini, the entire board shook, and here you don't feel like it. Nothing really happens. Mega Knight stuns half of the board and nothing really happens, and I feel like that kind of makes it way less engaging and a little bit more boring to play. But that's only visuals. That and of course, like what I mentioned before with the replays and that stuff, I feel like that's quite necessary to kind of perfect this mode. But I feel like it's not really a priority. But at the end of the day, it would be nice if they released it with that. But then other stuff, like for example, balancing of the mode. 3-star units are a huge problem. Like I mentioned in the yesterday's video, now that I played even more, um, I I practically won every single game I played. I feel like as an auto chess player, I have an advantage in knowing how this game mode works over other people. But still, some games I got second place or even third, and that mostly happened because either the opponent had a 3-star unit and I didn't, or I wasn't even able to build up my synergies because of the random card selections I got. And that's a huge problem. If like I know they said that they wanted to have these modes to feel more casual for players, that it is not supposed to be like a very high skill game mode, because Clash Royale as a game by itself is a very high skill and grind game. But I don't feel like Clash Mini had to die for a casual game mode. That to me just doesn't really make sense, and I would like them to explore more options to make it less random, to make a game mode that you can actually play on a competitive level. In my opinion, that has to happen. Clash Mini did not die for this, and we'll see what happens there. Tomorrow there's a Q&A with Marco and Fan, so we'll be able to ask some questions. I'll be there. Try to ask them some questions myself. Ooh, that was me. Someone called me. Anyway, I forgot what I was. Oh yeah, I was talking about Q&A tomorrow. So yeah, I'll try to ask them some questions myself. I have some questions. But yeah, another thing I saw today, which I didn't even know it was possible, but apparently you can make 4-star units, and To be honest, I do not want to know how that looks, because unless I have a 4-star unit, of course. But if an opponent has a 4-star unit, I'm just quitting. Um, I mean, the chances of that are probably really low. But yeah, I mean, it would probably be nice to just like suggest to the developers some changes they can make to actually balance these units. Um, for example, one of the best options on how to actually balance these 3-star units, or I mean, in general, the experience of building a team or a lineup for a match is when you pick a certain troop for your lineup. When you place it on the board, let that troop have an increased chance of popping in your hand again. That way you can at least like get some star. It doesn't need to be a high chance, because then everyone will just be getting 3-star units. But like just to have a 2-star unit, or even to just be able to actually build a decent lineup, not to just be searching for half the game to get a troop that you need to actually make a lineup work. And then on top of that, another thing you can do is to, when you pick a troop from a certain synergy, make the troops from that synergy also have a slightly higher chance of popping up in the shop, because synergies, I didn't even notice that early on, but now that I played a little bit more, I figured out that synergies actually have a huge impact on the game. It's crazy, actually. I thought it would have way less impact, like something kind of like how on Clash Mini it was. Because on Clash Mini, for example, you had synergies and they were nice, they gave some buff, but they weren't game changing. But I had a game today where I had like a 4 undead combo with 3 rogue, and my opponent just didn't stand a chance, and it was all because of the synergies. So yeah, the synergies are really good, and sometimes I'm not even searching for a certain troop in the shop, because that by itself is way too hard to get. But I'm just searching to at least get a synergy on the board, and I can't even find that. And when that happens, that's when I'm usually third, or even fourth, which only happened once, or I don't even know if it happened, but I believe I finished low once. But it was because of that. It was like second place, it happens because you don't get a 3-star units. Third place happens because you don't even get a synergy, and it's all based off RNG. Like, I have the strategy, but you just can't actually make it because you don't get the cards to do so. And I mean, also with playing, like in yesterday's video, I said that rerolls are a must in this game mode, otherwise it's unplayable. I don't really agree with that now that I played a little bit more, but I still feel there need to be some changes, like what I suggested before, and also another option is to just add a fourth option. A fourth option would massively increase chances of you actually being able to build a decent lineup, because sometimes, like, you're on a lost round, right? So the king gives you 4 bonus elixir, but with that 4 bonus elixir, sorry, I got kind of sick. So yeah, you get the 4 bonus elixir and 5 at the start, and let's say you have 1 from previous round, so you're at 10 elixir, and then you spend the entire round just cycling the shop, trying to get the unit that you need on the board, but you don't get it, and you end up at 3 elixir. You reroll so many times, you reroll 7 times, bought and sell a unit, and you still didn't get nothing. Those cases aren't very rare. They happen quite a lot, actually, and that's the actual worst part about the game mode, because you're kind of helpless in that situation. You just know you lost at that point because you wasted 7 elixir trying to actually get something, but you couldn't. Now your troops are the same strength as it was were the previous round, and the opponent managed to upgrade some. You know you're fucked at that point, and like there's nothing you can actually do, and yeah, that kind of sucks. That the RNG element of the shop is probably like the biggest issue that needs to be addressed, and there are changes that can be made really fast, that can massively improve that experience, but we'll see how fast and what they actually decide to do on that. But yeah, 4-star units, that was crazy news for me. I kind of fear of facing that, but I don't know. I guess it's pretty much impossible to get a 4-star unit unless you have like goblins. I've seen people mostly getting goblins to 4-star because of the synergy. If you have a goblin synergy since the first round, you'll be getting a goblin every single round, and you can then get it to 4-star. But I hope it's not actually possible to get a 4-star Royal Ghost. I do not want to see that. Now, remember how at the start of the video I was kind of listing things that I wish this game mode would come with in this update? There's another thing I would really like to see, and that's emotes. Like in auto chess, it kind of feels nice to be able to interact with other players, especially in a lobby with multiple other people, because you're kind of not really doing anything for like the entire round after placing down your units. And when something crazy happens, I miss the ability to actually interact with people. So I hope emotes will be a thing as soon as possible, or at least something along those lines. And then another thing that I feel like it's important to get into is the time and the ability to spectate other people, and the hexagon board position. Um, the fact that I am first off sometimes not even able to place down any units when the match starts because I'm recycling, trying to get a troop that would actually help me. Um, and before I get to that point, the round already started. I I actually just I don't know who tested this game and thought that's enough time, but like there's not a single round where I actually feel like I have enough time, because even if I have extra time left, it is huge to be able to check on other people, how they play, what's their positioning, because even if not for this round, it's for the next round. So this short amount of time, I don't know what the goal was with this kind of time, but it's always a rush, and it's sometimes really helpful to check up on opponent's position, especially when they have prince and units like that, or some units that you want to avoid. But it's hard to even adjust your positioning to that, because the hexagon board positions that are mirrored are kind of confusing to get in your head. I'll probably get more used to it as I play for longer, but at this point, I'm always just kind of guessing which side it is, and like kind of where Prince will be going to, or something like that. Um, all of that is hard to analyze within like 1 or 2 seconds that you actually have to spectate the other player and making your position, because the positioning here is key. That's why this game mode has positioning and Clash Mini didn't have it, or like they removed it at some point. In Clash Mini, positioning was out predicting prediction from your opponent. In this game mode, you can see your opponent's positioning live, and because of that positioning, um, the strategy of your placements is way more skill based than guessing, like it was in Clash Mini. Um, and I feel like not having the time to actually do so, it's kind of ruining the fun again in this mode. It's again ruining the ability for this mode to be competitive, and um, I don't know how long the runs actually are, but they don't feel that long. And then another thing that is missing, like it actually feels like an unfinished mode. I don't know. It kind of seems like they only worked on this for the past 2 months, and before that they were just like, I don't know, watching other stuff. Um, but we need a timer countdown for when the round starts, like from 3, 2, 1, and go round, like visually represented on the screen, so I can actually see when the round is going to be starting. Not that I'm randomly cycling the shop and the round starts. That's so annoying. Um, and just based on that, like definitely there will be players that will be able to cycle through everything and make decisions faster with more playtime and that. But for like a casual player that doesn't know all the interactions and that kind of needs to think a little bit about what they want to actually do, and so yeah, for that kind of player it's too little time. But then for like a competitive player with this time, it's gonna be manageable, but it's not gonna be like based on um, prediction or like strategy positioning, but it's gonna be like based off how everyone knows what kind of interactions work. So they'll be pre-making the placements based off experience interactions, so it doesn't actually matter where the opponent plays, because again you don't have time to do that. um, so in that sense, I feel like Clash Mini with no move was actually more skill based, just because you were actually able to think and do actual stuff that now just feels like a rush all the time. The shop, you have to be really smart with how you actually cycle your elixir, but at the same time it's still to RNG. Like you can be smart, but you're still gonna be screwed at some point. And like the randomness in this, the randomness ruins everything. The modes or the modifiers are fun. The like the structure of the game mode is still fun. It's a good idea, even though it's not exactly like Clash Mini but more like TFT. It's still fun, but the randomness and the inability to actually do something with that randomness, or because you don't have time to make an idea before you see what you actually get, because you will never have time to pick the units that you wanted for the combo, but you will have to work at some point with units that you did not want at the beginning, and you will have to make that work if you want to win, and that is not possible with the amount of time that you have in the game right now. That needs to be changed if this wants to be at least somewhat of a competitive game mode. That can be mostly fixed with changes to the shop and with additional time. And I know you don't want the game to last for 10 minutes, but I don't know, release 1v1. Like, what's stopping you from that? Release 1v1, the game will be 5 minutes long, nobody will care. And even if the game is 10 minutes long, what's wrong with that? Like, I'm playing for 8 minutes, I'll play for 10 minutes. If I want a 3-minute game, I'll play the regular game of Clash Royale, but that takes 6 minutes anyway, because I'm always gonna go into overtime, so that's not really an issue. And just based on that, I feel like in long term, this game mode has higher skill potential that Clash Mini in the end had, but there need to be like a quite a bit of changes made to get to that point. Um, but just like the card pool for everyone, it, the potential is there, the idea is there, but the execution was really bad. And like I said a few times in this video already, it's only halfway done. What the hell have you been doing for the entire year? I don't know, but I hope that you work based off the community feedback and get to work and make this an actually proper game mode for Clash Mini players that we were promised.